way.
It's actually quite a low resolution.
Exactly.
Sort of
True compassion would be going, okay, well, I'm going to help you because you need the help.
Totally.
This is how we're going to address this. And
And
part of that may be a sympathetic word or whatever, but it's real. It's not just pat, you'll be okay. I'm going the other way because I don't want to know about your problem.
Totally, and it's obviously relevant to the particular situation. Like, if someone's just lost a loved one unexpectedly, you're going to be like, okay, I understand there's going to be a grievance period, and I'm here just even as physical presence for you.
Yeah.
But then there needs to be a point of like, well, what do you need to do to get better?
Yeah.
And can I help you in any way? But more importantly, the responsibility needs to be put on that individual.
There's a delicate, there's a dance.
Well, it's like your own role, and John and I look very similar. It's like, I see myself as someone who can assist people through their rehabilitation process. Very rarely am I going to be the person that cures them, so to speak. Maybe there are some circumstances where someone's got a right neck and you do some manual therapy, and like, oh, that feels a lot better.
You're teaching them to fish.
Yeah, you give them tools. So, like, as I said, I find that interesting because you see that kind of presentation a bit. If we go away from that athletic one, as you said, it's that sick role, and we see it a lot. The one that I see it in a lot, and we don't do much of it, and it's on purpose, is, say, compensable patients, work cover, TAC, where they feel so slighted by the incident or the accumulation of insult from their job.
Or where it encourages a level of malingering.
Yes, and they actually attach to the pain that they have, they attach to the injury, and they want to malinger because there is benefit to it.
I had a client who was on a pretty healthy, what's it called, when you're income insurance sort of package, and he was on corporate job, big pay, and was getting like 80% of his pay. And he was even able to say to me, and he was experiencing genuine depression. All the symptoms of a profound depression, and he could even say to me, "I'm worried that what's happening here is that the sick role is being encouraged by this situation where I'm actually being looked after financially by staying sick. I actually don't feel and don't even want to go back into that corporate role. It's not healthy for me, but it's actually in my best interest in a way." Financially in the situation to remain in this area. Or there are too many factors contributing to it, to that, and he was even aware of it and didn't like that.
And that shows good insight, doesn't it?
That's right, but how compelling it is for someone who's even aware of it.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing because, as we said before about this kind of modern society and where we are, almost everything is forcing us towards being fat and lazy, right? Because we can be if we want to be. What I think is more unique now, and it's difficult when you have these conversations with people, we have it obviously in a rehabilitation sense. They go, well, why can't you just fix me? And it's like, well, you've taken X amount of time to develop all of these deficiencies to get to this point for something to break down. You need to build them back up in order to be able to navigate whatever sort of problem you've got or skill set you need to be able to carry out or biomechanical kind of experience. It's really interesting because we've gotten so used to being able to receive things and get the reward really quickly that when that reward isn't forthcoming, people struggle with it.
Well, I was just going to say, because to that point too, I often think one of the biggest correlates for determining the success of patients we work with is their willingness for change, like behavioural change.
But it has to be gradual.
Yes,
it feels like you're just so quickly saying, grow up.
Not at all.
Rather than recognising it has to be a slight, bit by bit movement toward maturation.
Like I wouldn't say, like it probably sounds like that, and I'm not trying to make it sound like that, and that makes it sound very black and white. Like Jack and I actually, even just in the last few weeks, have talked about this concept of running what we call safe to fail experiments, where it fits almost into this Vygotsky kind of zone of proximal development, and you're just creeping them a little bit forward.
A little bit of chaos.
Yeah, can you try this today? And if you achieve and tick that box off, maybe we can go to here. I know it sounds like I'm just like, oh, get on it. You should just be able to go from here to here.
Throw them out of the nest.
That's not necessarily the case. The thing that I think, the point that Jack made that I really agree with is they need to be willing to even just take that little step.
And
if they're not,
and you have to reward that.
Yeah.
So if someone's say is buying too heavily into the sick role, and maybe that's the way in which they were kind of given some level of comfort, they were identified with that from a very young age. To just, when there's a slight movement away from that to some level of individuation and maturity, to really encourage that.
Yeah.
But to recognise it's going to take time. As you say, it took a long time to get to this point. You're not going to be able to turn it around.
Is that something that are you doing similar things when you're trying to navigate where a psychological puzzle might be an addiction puzzle, but you're trying to slowly shift them towards behaviours that aren't detrimental to them?
That's right. Yeah, it's about